Oh, hi, I'm in Bell from behind the wall, and today is Monday the 24th of November 2013. This is an update for people who are following Paul and Asha's ongoing battle with social services and Staffordshire County Council. And of course, the legal profession. I say legal profession. What one may observe is some members of a profession behaving most unprofessionally and also illegally, unlawfully. But hey, that's their game. That's their game, you know. Staffordshire County Council has a history which would be admired by the leader of any despotic regime, because of injunctions which are gag orders, which gag orders, if they're not complied with, then custodial sentences may, can and will be enforced. And because of this, very little information reaches the mainstream media, which the mainstream media press, if they don't get it, you don't get it. And that's your family courts for you. If you say anything outside of this courtroom, anything you hear or anything you say, then you will go to prison. So everyone shuts up. So we're supposed to be governed by consent. All too frequently, it seems, we are governed by fear. Well, Paul has stood up to them. Both for his own sake and for his son and for his wife, and for the sake of many thousands of others who had their children taken illegally, unlawfully, illegitimately, however you want to put it. They've been stolen. It's legal kidnapping. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's lawful. And that is a very fine distinction that people need to know about. Now, sometimes journalists will do their job, as the Daily Mail did on a couple of occasions, and certainly on this occasion, over 3 years ago. But this is in relation to another case. Nothing to do with Paul and Asha's case, except it is Staffordshire County Council's. It demonstrates a history of Staffordshire County Council's despicable behaviour. They will steal children. I have this report from the Daily Mail, dated the 4th of March 2010, that Staffordshire County Council breached the Data Protection Act after a mother was refused legitimate access to certain files. The headline reads, "Council Chiefs Wrapped for Withholding Records." They just get a rap. No one goes to court, no one's prosecuted for it. And the report reads, "Social service bosses have been wrapped after refusing to hand over records to a Staffordshire mother whose children had been taken into care. After a lengthy battle, the County Council has been found by the Information Commissioner to have breached the Data Protection Act after its refusal to give documents to the woman. The Council, Staffordshire County Council, has now been required to hand over all the relevant documents to the mother, who claims to have been unfairly treated by the council. She cannot be named in order to protect the identity of her children, who were originally taken into care over claims of domestic violence. The mother from Stafford, she tried to get access to the files for nearly 2 years in June last year. That was 2009, 4 years ago. And the council was due to deliver the files to her, but a last-minute decision was taken not to do so because of concerns what the mother may do with the information. Well, expose the council's wrongdoing perhaps. The mother has now received the files and claims they show her children were made to feel unsafe in foster care. The matter is being investigated by the County Council, which has accepted the Information Commissioner's ruling. And the mother said, quote, "The local authority deliberately prevented me from having the files for 2 years. I believe this was because there were things they did not want me to see." In its ruling to the mother, the ICO said, "I have confirmed my assessment that the council has breached the 6th data protection principle in this case." And the cabinet minister, yeah, I'm promoting him, the cabinet member for children at the county council, one Ian Parry, said, "We have only acted and will continue to act in the best interests of the children." Wow. If a child is in foster care and feels unsafe within that caring environment, one might suppose someone somewhere isn't acting in the best interests of the child. However, that's only the tip of a very large iceberg. Get this report about, quote, "a psychiatrist who damned hundreds as unfit parents." Again, this is from the Daily Mail, and this time from March, just last year, 2012. The headline reads, "The Doctor Who Broke Up Families." And it goes on, "A leading psychiatrist is facing extraordinary claims that he deliberately misdiagnosed parents with mental disorders. Decisions which meant their children were taken away from them. One Dr. George Hibbert faces being struck off over his conclusions that hundreds of parents had personality disorders after assessing them at his private family centre. He was paid hundreds of thousands of pounds by social services for the reports which tore children from the parents, many of them very young mothers, and he is now being investigated following shocking suggestions that he distorted the assessments to suit the view of social services. In one case, he's alleged to have wrongly diagnosed a caring new mother, named only as Miss A, with bipolar disorder. Why? Because the local authority wanted the baby adopted." Another headline, "An expert doctor took away my baby because I was trying to be a good mother." An expert doctor took my baby away because I was trying to be a good mother. A woman is told how her baby was taken into care after controversial psychiatrist Dr. George Hibbert said she was trying too hard to be the perfect mother. The leading doctor is already facing claims he misdiagnosed parents with mental disorders to enable their children to be removed by social services. In a damning report, He described the woman's constant efforts to be a good mother as over the top. Incredibly, he claimed the healthy 24-year-old, who can be named only as Miss B, might be better off living in the structured formality of institution life so she could learn to be less obsessed with pleasing others. As a result of Dr. Hibbett's report, for which he was paid thousands by social services, the woman's baby was removed from her and placed with a foster family. And it gets worse. The child, in that case, the child was later returned after a string of other professionals said they had no concerns about the woman or her parenting. And he goes on and on. Again in 2012, here's the headline, along with a picture of the psychiatrist in his home. It reads, "The expert who played God at the Big Brother house where he tore families apart." As it's revealed that 10,000 children are taken into care each year, how one doctor made a fortune setting parents bizarre tasks to see if they were fit to keep their children. And this is a quote from a social worker. "I was forced to take babies from their mothers by the expert who played God." One young father was accused of having paedophile tendencies after staff observed him lying on the floor with his daughter watching television. Another was said to have intrusive parenting style because he liked to tickle his baby, which apparently was something she quite liked. She loved it, in fact. But the most bizarre of all was the case of the married mother who liked to write to-do lists. Quote, "Dr. Hibbett told us that writing to-do lists wasn't normal behaviour. He said it was obsessive. And all of us staff said, hang on, we do that." But the patients couldn't win. They really were set up to fail. If the parents didn't trust him, they were branded paranoid. And if they got upset, he would say they were unstable. Totally ignoring the fact they're under a lot of stress anyway, because they know that through him they can have their children taken away. Anyway, this woman's final clash with Dr. Hibbett came when she observed a meeting he held with a woman who was describing how she had once been raped. The psychiatrist's reaction left her stunned. She said, "I saw him put his fingers in his ears and say, 'No, I'm not listening to you.'" She went on to say, "I really just couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. I didn't get the impression he had any empathy." And it goes on and on. This is historical. It's nothing to do with Paul and Ash's ongoing battle with Staffordshire County Council and its partners in crime, except that it does demonstrate that the determination to steal children from parents to feed a multi-billion-pound adoption fostering business is nothing new. In fact, it seems to be all in a normal day's work as far as Staffordshire County Council PLC is concerned. And this is why Paul is working so hard, even risking imprisonment to expose what is happening, not only for the sake of his own family, but for the sake of many thousands of others whose lives have been disrupted by these, there's no other word for it, evil people. Courtesy of the UK column, this graphic gives you an indication of who profits from this child trafficking and what are the vast sums involved. Me, I'm sick to the teeth of all this. I'll continue seeing Paul, interviewing him, getting updated information for as long as possible. Here's the interview with Paul, which was this Friday just gone. It was 23rd, wasn't it? Friday the 23rd of November, which was one of several final hearings, but was not the penultimate final hearing. I'll leave you with Paul. Here's the interview I did with Paul, and that should give you a taste of how things are at the moment. And with a bit of luck, all things go well, I should have something to follow after that. Anyway, here's the video.
So today in court,
and to what Paul has to say.
I don't know what to say really. I've answered a lot of questions.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah. Completely discredited social services.
How did you do that?
By answering some questions that undermine their entire case. They've not given us a single chance. They admitted in the first hearing, a few weeks after my son was kidnapped. They said they admitted that we didn't have a chance. They'd already decided that any child would be stolen, put for adoption. They admitted that they wouldn't give us any support, that we'd had for 7 years that worked with our oldest children before I changed to social worker. And then they wanted to know why I won't cooperate with them.
Well, why would you?
Exactly. After what happened with my youngest daughter, kidnapped 2 days before her due date by inducement, forced inducement, under threat of if you don't have an inducement, it will be seen as neglect. No medical reason for it. It left my wife bleeding on the bed for 6 hours while social services fabricated this emergency protection order. No court seal on it, just a squiggle, no printed name. It's a void order as far as I'm concerned, and everything that precedes a void order is also void, including the forced adoption. Yeah, that makes sense. It must be, mustn't it? Yeah. Okay. And the reason they give for the kid of my youngest daughter was that they'd successfully adopted my eldest 2 children. Yeah. And even then, they admitted that all the care needs had been met and the children wished to return home. And the Kafka's guardian at the time, Paul Healy his name was, went on to say that in his opinion it would be seen as the children were at risk of emotional harm in the future. And no children, could you repeat that? My eldest children, even though we'd met all the care needs and they wished to return home, it was his opinion that they'd be at risk of emotional harm in the future. On what basis? On his opinion. On what? Okay. On what basis? On what is his opinion based? On nothing, I suppose, because we'd met all the care needs and the children wished to return home. I understand now you moved the term emotional. Yeah. Is that correct? So now they're saying they're at risk of harm? Well, they call it neglect now. Emotional harm comes under the category of neglect. Good grief. They keep changing words and meanings, don't they, in law, legalese and all that stuff. But they've admitted to an MP that was brought up in Parliament, the backbench business committee about children in care. Staffordshire had admitted that I'm not actually, me and my wife, we're not a danger to our children, we're no risk to them. And this is backed up by by a recording of a pre-birth case conference.
Okay.
Well, from their own mouths, they're saying that we're not a risk, we're not a danger to our children, and it's about parenting our children. So I've always asked, why do we need an assessment? Because they've already assessed us, I suppose, by saying that we're not a risk and it's about parenting. So why not give us a parenting classes or something? They claim that we've had a parenting assessment in the first case with my eldest children when my eldest was 2 years old.
Okay.
And she was 7 when she was snatched, without a court order and without the police and without consent. So I call that a kidnap.
What was their basis for that one?
I asked the social worker this. She said she had watched a TV programme about men with depression who murder the children and commit suicide.
Good grief.
And
what was that, EastEnders or something?
probably some, I don't know what it was, but she watched a TV programme and was influenced by it. That's the sort of mentality of people who play video games and go out killing people.
Oh, good grief.
You know, I'd say the social worker needs assessing. But that's why my eldest 2 were snatched.
Yeah.
My eldest still wants to come home now, even after all this time.
I haven't met her, but I've seen photographs. A beautiful young lady. For the people who are watching, and tell us what happened before Asha fell pregnant.
Oh, yeah. We'd been married for 2 years, well, just over 2 years, and no pregnancy or anything. We decided to look into fostering and adoption. So I contacted a private foster agency, and they said they came out, did a little assessment, viewed the house and everything, and they said we're ideally suited for young children, babies up to sort of 2 years old, toddlers. And because of my wife's mild cerebral palsy, learning disability, well, she was in a care home before I met her, my wife, and social services were involved as soon as she left the care home. When I met her, she was covered in bruises. We were just friends, and I got her out of that situation. She was being beaten with a pool cue and raped every day almost.
That's horrendous.
Yeah.
While in the care home?
Yeah.
Was any action taken against the care home?
All covered up. It was reported to the police, and then the abuser was moved to another care home.
Yes.
It was another resident, and that was the end of it.
Okay. It's a shocking history, and you put up with this now for what?
What was that? Pardon?
How long have you and Asha been married?
Oh, 14 years.
14 years?
Well, we've been married for 13 years. We've been together for just over 14 years now. I think we're in a very strong relationship.
You certainly are. We can see that when we see you together.
Social services are trying to make out it's a volatile relationship because my wife had PMS. It's actually I've seen it in this bundle of evidence I've got, but it's on the medical bit of it.
So, at the end of today's hearing, the situation is what exactly?
It seems, from what I gathered, I thought that the evidence of social services ignoring the law on how they should behave and the procedures they should follow.
Someone mentioned something about an assessment. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. They've not offered us any type of assessment at all. They just jumped straight to the kidnap and the forced adoption. That's what they want. They wanted it before the birth, not put any support in place that was working before. Suddenly they've offered us an assessment, but they won't.
Assessment of what?
Exactly, I don't know.
Right.
They want to see, well, I've asked that it be recorded so you can compare the recording with the paperwork.
With the official paperwork,
because this the pre-birth case conference of Willow. In the paperwork they churned out, it was 3 different sets of paperwork for the same meeting, and they keep changing it all the time. So I've released the recording, put it online, along with some paperwork to disprove what they said. And they actually, from their own mouths, they said that we're not a danger, which is they won't let me record this assessment they want to do. They said there's no way anyone would let me record it. I've asked in the court, why is that? What have they got to hide? And Judge Mumby, in his recent judgment, said that everything needs to be opened up to the public for public scrutiny.
Yeah, and all you have to avoid mentioning is the child's, anything that will lead to the identification of the child.
Yeah. But how many children out there with a certain name?
Yeah.
You can't identify a child unless you say that is the child and you point to it.
Okay.
You know, with a name.
Well, don't mention his name anyway.
No. It might slip out by accident, but you know,
well, if it does,
it's not intentional contempt.
Okay. So, are you going to agree to the assessment, or?
They seem to have given us no choice at all. You know, either have this assessment and it's not recorded, or you've lost. But I don't understand all this legal stuff.
Okay.
They're talking riddles to me. All I understand is what's happened, how I see it.
Okay. And finally, for the people who are watching this, final comment.
Stand up to the system. People are fighting their own individual cases, and the system's set up for everyone to lose. Just fight the system instead of your individual case. Expose them for what they are. There's child traffickers. They claim ownership of your child. Who belongs to your family.
By exposing them, are you saying ignored injunctions like you've done?
Yeah. According to the head of the family division, the family courts need to be exposed to public scrutiny. So I guess by obeying your injunctions, you're in contempt of his order.
That's right.
It's one way of looking at it.
So the judge in this particular case today could himself be in contempt of court.
In contempt of the head of the family division, yeah. He's also identified me in his judgment from the committal hearing, identified by name, along with John Hemming identifying me as the, well, not me by name, but who represented me.
Well, they sent me documentation that gives me your full name and address.
Yeah. So the
plus the child's identity, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So
you know
they're in contempt of court.
Yeah, it's crazy. Seems they can do what they like, and
yeah, there's no committal hearing for them, though, is there?
No.
They've disobeyed the rules set out in the Children's Act, and the rules set out by, is it the British Association of Social Workers? And they just get away with it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Paul. There's a lot of people out there supporting you. And I think what many people don't realise is this is a landmark case, or it can, well, it already is. But what you're doing, if you bust it wide open, all hell's going to let loose. And I don't think that should be such a bad idea.
Losing your children for all time, or threats of imprisonment. The threat of imprisonment's nothing.
Well, they've shut up about that one now, haven't they?
They have. They've backed away from that now.
Sorry?
The Staffordshire backed away from the committal.
Yes, because they had three committal hearings, which none of them amount to. The last two were cancelled.
Yeah.
And there's no record of them anymore.
Yeah, one of them they cancelled. I went to one of them. That was a 6-week suspended sentence. And one of them just vanished.
Yeah, no, so I tried to find out to confirm whether it was cancelled or not. They couldn't confirm that it was cancelled because they got no record of the hearing in the first place.
Yet I've put it on my Facebook page, the paperwork where they say about a committal hearing.
So
they're lying again.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much, Paul, and keep in touch what progress you're making.
Yeah, it's exhausting now.
And I'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thank you for listening to that. Make of it what you will. Please share it with other people. As with all the videos in Paul's case, do share them with other people. It's people need to know. It's very much demonstrates that no child is safe, you know. Just because you're a good parent doesn't mean a damn thing. I'm trying to remember something. You get crazy stuff. Like, there's a woman who was told that the court was told that her child had a vocabulary inappropriate for a child of that age. What does that say? Some kiddie running around cursing and swearing like a trooper? The truth of the matter was, that child was well educated, homeschooled as it happened, and he had a vocabulary wider than average for his age. That's all. Now that's good. That's good, isn't it? But they took a truth and they slightly changed it. So, oh yeah, vocabulary inappropriate for his age. Same young mother. I also said something about him, I don't recall the exact words, but it was something along the lines of he wasn't fed properly, bad diet. And do you know the child had never even heard of a chicken nugget? I'm sorry, he was well looked after, he had a good diet and quality food, and his mother cared about him, was careful what he ate. Why aren't you going to give him chicken nuggets? Blech. You know, would you eat them? Maybe you do. Maybe it's your health, go ahead. You know. But have a look into chicken nuggets, see what's in them. There's lots more. I could go on. I have some more. Do have some more paperwork relevant to Paul's case on Friday. But I've got some queries on it. A couple of things I need to check. And as soon as that's sorted, I'll follow it on after this video with another one. I'll apologise, but make no excuse for the bad quality. Especially the green screen, I'm still getting my head around that. Hey, look, this is a brand new career for me at 67. Yeah? I've got no one to show me what to do. No, nothing. Working it all out by myself. Oh, and it's Someone's got to do it. You know, I look at Paul and Asha and I think there's no one reporting on this on a regular basis, keeping people updated, and people need to know. So why me? Someone's got to do it. Hey, everyone can do something, right? Anyway, I'll leave you with that, and hopefully I should have some more on this within maybe a week. It means chatting with Paul and getting a few queries answered. And I will catch up with you soon. Okay. Do share these videos. People need to know what's going on. Okay. Cheers.